For the first time in over 40 years, you no longer have to attend an ABA accredited law school to become a lawyer in Texas. The Texas Supreme Court made it official in January of this year. So, the single organization that ran legal education in this country for decades just got fired by an entire state. And the second state, Florida, followed within just a few weeks. So, if your reaction to that is, wait, is my law degree even safe? That is the right question. And almost nobody applying right now is even asking it. But what's actually happening here is more useful than you might think, and nobody applying has really looked at this closely. Now, after Texas, Florida again did the same thing weeks later. The Florida Supreme Court said out loud that it's not in Floridians' best interest for the ABA to be the sole gatekeeper deciding whose degree counts. Two states back to back, and Ohio and Tennessee are also looking at the same move right now. So you got to understand what accredited is starting to mean. For 40 years, it was one body, one standard, the American Bar Association. And now it's fracturing state by state. Now, of course, Texas and Florida are two of the biggest legal markets in the country. And when they peel away from the ABA, the national standard stops being national. Now, there is a rule called Standard 316. It says that at least 75% of a school's graduates have to pass the bar within 2 years, or the school itself is in trouble. So you could do everything right, pass the bar on your first try, and still be at a school that is losing its accreditation because of the other students around you. So your degree is tied to a school on the ropes through no fault of your own. And there are schools that do end up in that exact situation. This past fall, one law school got put on probation by the ABA specifically because of its bar passage rate. They had some of the worst bar passage rates in the country, roughly high 50%, low 60%, and they scrambled and got themselves back into compliance a couple months later. So they're not on probation today, but think about what those numbers describe. At a school like that, close to 4 out of every 10 graduates fail the bar. Now, schools don't fail the bar passage standard by accident. They get there by dropping their accreditation standards to fill seats. In other words, a school lets in students who are not ready, and then a chunk of them can't pass the bar 3 years later. Now, Golden Gate University Law School in San Francisco had been open for over 100 years, but in 2024, they shut down their entire JD program and stopped taking on new students. And so imagine you're a 2L there. You've been there for 2 years, maybe $150,000 in, and the school announces they're closing the program out from under you. So Golden Gate students got shipped off to other schools to finish their degrees, University of San Francisco and a school in Minnesota. And their accreditation only continues through July 2027 just to teach out the students already there. And so the school is finished and your degree is tied to whatever is left of them. And they're not some freak one-off. A handful of law schools have lost their ABA approval or walked away from it over the last few years. Almost all of them were smaller schools that could not keep their bar numbers up. Golden Gate is just the biggest name and the longest history to fail. When a school that stood for 100 years can go under, the 30-year school with worse numbers is not the safe bet people assume it is. And you can't count on transferring out. When Golden Gate closed, their students got placed at other schools, but it was kind of a scramble, not a guarantee. You're moving cities, reproving your credits, hoping a new school takes you in the middle of your degree. Some students end up fine, others lose a semester or a year. The best move, though, is to never sign up for a school in the first place that's at risk of being in trouble. And so the smaller, lower-ranked schools keep landing here for one basic reason. They live and die on two things: their tuition dollars and their bar passage rates. When applications dip, they've got to let in weaker classes to keep the lights on. Then their bar passage rate sinks, the ABA comes knocking, and the whole thing gets a bit wobbly. The school most likely to say yes to a shaky application is the exact same school most likely to be in trouble. Now consider timing. That makes it worse. Law schools just packed the biggest first-year classes in almost a decade, nearly 43,000 students this past fall, up nearly 8% in a single year. And so the schools, scrambling to stay compliant, just crammed in more students than they have in years, right as the ground under them started shifting. More students, borrowing more money, betting on a system that's less settled than it's been in 40 years. So a school struggling with bar passage almost always has weak employment numbers also. And so the troubled school hits you twice. You've got lower odds of passing the bar and lower odds of getting a real job if you do. And they'll dress it up with money. They'll wave a big scholarship at you, but you want to be careful. That scholarship money is bait to get your enrollment and your loan dollars onto their books. A big scholarship from a school in trouble should scare you rather than flatter you because it's a school that can't fill its class the straightforward way. Meanwhile, the ABA is getting rewritten by politics in real time. In 2025, it suspended one of its own accreditation standards under federal pressure. And when a state stops trusting the ABA, something's got to fill that gap, and nobody really knows what that's going to be right now. Florida is going to look to other accreditors to approve law schools, and maybe that'll open the door to cheaper, faster, genuinely better schools. Nobody knows. Maybe it'll open the door to law schools with no standards at all. For the next few years, what it means for a school to be accredited is going to be a moving target. And the only real protection you have is to check the actual numbers yourself instead of trusting the marketing materials. What I'm going to recommend for you is that you look up the ABA 509 reports for any law school you're considering that's accredited by the American Bar Association. That will show you the bar passage rates. The ABA stats also show you the employment outcomes, and they show you the LSAT median and the GPA median of last year's entering class, giving you a general sense of the school's standards. Most importantly, 2-year bar passage rates. If the bar passage is shaky or there's notice on file, you've got your answer. And if you want my help getting your LSAT score up, getting a better score, getting more scholarship money, I'm happy to help you out. I'm offering free LSAT tutoring for everybody watching this now and later. You can book that free LSAT tutoring lesson with me at unpluggedprep.com/start. The link is below the video on YouTube, pinned in the chat on YouTube, in my bio on TikTok and IG. I've also put together a free LSAT cheat sheet to help you jumpstart your LSAT prep. It's a quick reference on everything logical reasoning and reading comprehension. It's a free PDF download. You can grab it unpluggedprep.com/cheat sheet. Open offer available to everybody. Happy to help you out. Now, you should know that the LSAT has changed over the past couple of years. The test most people are studying for right now does not exist anymore, and most people have no idea. They're deep into their prep books, running drills, feeling ready for an exam that changed and nobody told them. And the LSAT changes are actually the best thing that could happen to you if you're the one who figures it out first. Everyone's still buying the old books using the hand-me-downs, just became your easy competition. Now, there's a section people still grind for months on, timed drills, whole video courses, a shelf of books built around it, but logic games got dropped after the June 2024 LSAT. As of 2 years ago, August 2024, the old games section is no longer on the exam. It came out of a 2019 settlement with blind test takers, and LSAC just swapped logic games for more logical reasoning. And so if you pick up any old textbook more than 2 years old, it's describing a test that no longer exists. And these books were printed for the old format. A lot of them still teach the section that got cut, sometimes with whole chapters on it. And they just keep selling those books year after year, same cover, same price. You can study every page cover to cover, do every drill, and walk in prepared for the wrong exam. The scored LSAT is only 3 scored sections. 2 of them are logical reasoning, 2/3 of the test. The other third is reading comprehension. That's 1/3 of your score. Most people think of it as an afterthought, but you can improve on it significantly, whether it's science, law, philosophy, whatever, doesn't matter. It's definitely improvable. Then there's the 4th section that doesn't count. It's unscored. It is the experimental section, testing out future questions on real test takers. You're not told which section that is. It looks exactly like the rest. Now, the whole thing is scored 120 to 180. That's the band. A few points in the middle is the difference between a school that gives you scholarship money and a school that charges you full price for 3 years. The old picture in your head is that you're taking it on paper, but that's no longer the case. It's on a screen on a computer. The LSAT went digital back in 2019. It was briefly on a tablet. Now it's on a computer. And starting in August 2026, they are requiring you to take the LSAT in person at a prometric testing center. Hundreds of centers in all 50 states, plus Canada. LSAC says they're adding seats and appointments for each administration to give more capacity. You're scheduling your day and time through the prometric scheduling tool. The at-home test is the default with rare exceptions. And they're also implementing a new on-screen interface, different platform, how you highlight, how you flag a question to come back to, how you change the font size, all of that's different now. The scoring doesn't change, but the software has changed. So make sure that you're studying in the Law Hub system to get familiar with the software on the LSAC website. Remote testing is the exception now, not the rule. If you wanted to take it remotely, you would need certain disability accommodations, or you'd have to live more than 180 miles or 3 hours drive from a prometric center that has open seats. Now, reading comp changed how you even mark the passage. There are no longer any line numbers. On the online LSAT, you highlight the text right on the screen with your finger or the tool, and the questions point you back to what's highlighted, not to a line reference in the margin. So no more numbered lines. The writing sample has also changed. It's now called LSAT Argumentative Writing, and that new format's also a couple of years old. It's no longer picking between two options and listing pros and cons. Now they give you a debatable issue and a couple of different perspectives on it. Your job is to take a position and argue it while dealing with at least one of the other perspectives head on. You're not summarizing both sides, you're not sitting on the fence. You pick a side and defend it against the strongest thing, arguing the other way. It's a real argument. You have 50 minutes total, 15 minutes to analyze the perspectives, then 35 minutes to actually write the essay. Now, here's another one. According to LSAC, the writing sample opens up 8 days before the multiple choice test, online through Law Hub, remote proctored on your own time 24/7. The writing sample still is unscored, but it is required. And if you don't have an approved writing sample on file, you don't get your score released to you or to the schools. People will forget to do it or leave it to the last minute, and then their score gets locked while everyone else gets their scores back on score release day. Now, formal logic is still on the test. They took a lot of the reasoning styles from logic games and incorporated them into logical reasoning. So you may see more formal logic, more conditional reasoning, more numbers and percentages than you may have expected. Not a new question type, of course, all that's been on the LSAT for decades, but in increased proportion or prevalence than it used to be. And so if you study the old LSATs, make sure you're doing a lot more of those questions than you might have otherwise, and you'll be ready for whatever LSAT throws your way. And if you want my help getting ready for the LSAT whenever you're taking it, I'm happy to help you out. Again, I'm offering a free LSAT tutoring lesson for everybody watching this now or later. You can book that free tutoring lesson with me at unpluggedprep.com/start. The link is below the video on YouTube, pinned in the chat on YouTube, in my bio on TikTok and IG. I've also put together a free LSAT cheat sheet to help you jumpstart your LSAT prep. Quick reference on everything logical reasoning and reading comprehension. You can grab that free cheat sheet at unpluggedprep.com/cheat sheet below the video, pinned in the chat, in my bio as well. In the meantime, all the best. Take care. Thanks for joining.